out of the Revolutionary Guards, saying Operation True Promise is part of punishment for Israeli crimes. Now, presumably, they could mean the attack on the Iranian consulate in Damascus, or also more widely that war between Israel and Hamas that has certainly intensified all the relations in the Middle East.
Yeah, it has. I mean, the events of October the 7th were undoubtedly a seminal moment for the region, an inflection point. A lot of what we are seeing at the moment, Barbara, really comes down to deterrent or shattered deterrent on all sides of this conflict. October the 7th, of course, inflicted an enormous wound on Israelis, Israeli society, and it shattered their kind of the kind of thinking they had of invulnerability, that kind of deterrence they had. Here was Hamas entering their communities, running amok, slaughtering Israelis. We have seen Israel go into Gaza. They have, caused devastation across Gaza, seeking to destroy Hamas, but also to send a signal across the rest of the region to try and restore that deterrence. Now, the airstrike attributed on the consulate on Damascus on April the 1st, which killed those Revolutionary Guard generals, that was also part of trying to restore the restoration of the deterrent for the Israelis. But of course, on the other side, that attack inflicted on the Iranians eroded their deterrent. They need to send a message, not just domestically, but also across the region, that they are powerful actors, that they are not impotent. And what we are seeing now, the Israeli Defense Ministry, of course, is saying that dozens of Shahid drones, we're also hearing missiles as well, are on their way to Israel. Part of that is the restoration of the deterrent. Now, we don't know the exact shape that this attack is taking, and what that will, perhaps indicate what happens next with this. Will they get through Israeli air defense systems? Will they be shot down? Will they cause widespread damage here? If they do, of course, you can expect sizable retaliation from the Israelis on Iranian soil. And of course, the cycle of violence continues, and it spins in very unpredictable ways, heading towards, a regional confrontation, a regional war. Now, up until this point, the Iranians, the school of thought has been that the Iranians did not want a regional confrontation, which would perhaps drag in a direct confrontation with the Americans. But of course, what we're seeing tonight could change all that.
Alex Rossi with that from Jerusalem. Alex, for the moment, thank you. And again, let me bring you some breaking news coming in from Channel 12 in Israel. And that is that Iran has launched some 100 drones and cruise missiles. Some have been shot down over Syria and Jordan. So that breaking news coming in from Channel 12 Israeli TV, that Iran has launched around 100 drones and cruise missiles, and some have been shot down over Syria and Jordan. Worth also remembering that Jordan, for example, has closed its airspace recently, as so has Iraq. Israel will close it in the next hour and a half. Joining me now is our international affairs editor, Dominic Waghorn. Dominic, this breaking news, we have some number, at least it's coming from Israeli Channel 12, that around 100 drones and cruise missiles have been launched, and some have been shot down over Syria and Jordan. How do you assess the scale of this attack from what we know?
Yeah, the Israeli media are reporting on a number of channels that, as you say, 100 missiles or drones, cruise missiles or drones, both of them are heading their way towards Israel from Iran. They're also saying that the Israeli Air Force is out trying to intercept those incoming missiles and drones, and have shot down a number of them over Syria and possibly over Jordan as well. I think the way to assess this is a massive escalation in the war, and a extremely dangerous moment for the Middle East, but also for the wider world. In the wake of the Israeli attack on the Iranian consulate wing of the embassy in Damascus on April the 1st, I think people have been pondering what kind of retaliation the Iranians would carry out, and have been expected to do so, because, as Alex was saying there, They felt that deterrence had been massively weakened. This was a blow they could not ignore, as they had tried to overlook other attacks on their assets and allies and proxies during the war up to this point. And in terms of what the options people were considering was possibly a cyber attack, or using their proxy militias, Hezbollah, Hamas or the Houthis, to attack Israel. Some analysts saying, well, maybe they'll go for something much more direct themselves. But this is really taking the gloves off, because this is Iran using its own capability, its own military capability in considerable force now to attack Israel. And they will be carrying this out, they believe, because they need to respond and retaliate against Israel. So up to this point in the war, Iran has been responding to what Israel is doing in Gaza and continuing with its track record of meddling in the region and trying to challenge the hegemony of America and Israel in the region as they see it, using proxies, using the Houthis, using Hamas and Hezbollah. This is Iran now getting involved directly and attacking Israel in a very direct way. So I think that is a massive escalation in itself. And I think the questions we're asking ourselves tonight is, how many drones and missiles, what kind of drones? They have a range of capabilities, some of them more likely, at least some of them, to get past Israeli air defenses. What is on those drones? What kind of warheads? Are they conventional warheads? Are they something more sinister and more dangerous to Israel? And even if Israel is able to stop them striking any significant targets in Israel, which I think with 100 is unlikely, what is Israel's retaliation going to be? Will Israel feel, as Alex was saying there, that it needs to reassert its deterrence, as Iran is trying to do so tonight? And I think the expectation is it will carry out some kind of retaliation against Iran. So we're now in that kind of spiral of escalation that had really many people afraid at the beginning of the war, after the attacks, the atrocities that Hamas carried out on October the 7th. In the wake of that kind of fear of a regional war, of a much bigger conflagration engulfing the region, seemed to have subsided. But in the wake of the attack on the embassy in Damascus, it's come back. And I think tonight we are looking at probably some of our worst fears and what could ensue, because I think what we're seeing tonight is a direct Iranian attack on Israel, which is almost certainly going to lead to some kind of Israeli retaliation.